Stafford City Council meeting. Reminder, if you have a cell phone, to go ahead and mute it or turn it off. It's up to you. Roll call, we'll have one that's coming in a little bit anytime. And our Pledge of Allegiance is going to be offered by our Vice Mayor Ortega, followed by the invocation. Would you please stand and remain standing for both?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, Lord God, we come before you tonight, Lord, and we just ask that you just be with us on our decision-making, Father, that you go before us, Lord, and just protect our citizens. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Citizen comments on agenda items? None. Our public hearing, at this time, we're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing for Genevieve's Marketplace. Tammy, you want to give us a little bit more input on that?
She applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for her restaurant, Genevieve's Marketplace at 401 West Main Street. She has met all of the requirements for this type of food liquor license on there. Also too, just to let you know that we did create the entertainment district back in 2019, but even with that church being across the street from her, that no longer applies. They did correct the state statute, and I did verify that with the liquor board myself to make sure that churches no longer fall within that 300-foot requirement as well too. So, did you guys have any questions?
So at this time, we're going to go ahead and open it up to the public for comment, and I don't sit on this very long, so if anybody's eager to jump up, please do so. If not, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and reconvene into our regular meeting. Brings us to item 9.1, which is Genevieve's Marketplace. Tammy?
So, Mayor and Council, this is for recommendation of an approval to the State Liquor Board for the Genevieve's liquor license application that we did receive. Again, a Series 12 restaurant liquor license application.
Mayor, I make the motion, we approve this, reference to Genevieve's Marketplace, for a liquor license.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to item 9.2, the minutes. Tammy as well.
So, Mayor and Council, this is a request to approve the August 22nd and September 12th City Council meetings. Was there any questions on them?
Mayor, I make the motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to item 10.1, Resolution R22-41, the Paycheck Accuracy Policy. Cabrina?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request from Mayor and Council to approve Resolution R22-041, a resolution adopting a paycheck accuracy policy. This resolution would establish a policy that outlines the responsibility of employees and the city to monitor and validate the accuracy of each employee's paycheck in a timely manner, so that if there is an issue, it can be handled with minimal financial impact on either party. Essentially, the policy establishes that every employee is responsible for validating the accuracy of their paycheck and is responsible for reporting any discrepancy to the finance department in writing. Likewise, the finance department shall make employees aware of changes that may occur to employee paychecks, such as changes in the new fiscal year, changes in benefit amounts, change in retirement percentages, etc., so that the employees can review their information when these types of changes occur. Although finance and HR work hard to ensure that the errors do not occur, no person or process is perfect, and while rare, system errors do occur. This is a common policy to have and helps employees be more aware of their pay and benefits, and is extremely important during times of staff transitions and turnover. Employees would have 90 days to report discrepancies on their paycheck. Anything not reported within 90 days is assumed accurate. Likewise, the city has a 90-day period to collect on underpayments such as deductions or insurance premiums. This would not apply to salary underpayments or reimbursements to employees, specifically because the city would still be responsible for paying an employee what they are owed. This policy is an attempt to ensure that both the employee and the employer are diligent in their review for the sake of both parties. A slide has been provided during orientation for staff to explain to new hires how to read and interpret and validate their paychecks. Often employees are never shown that even before they come to the city. They don't understand how to read their paycheck, and this will help them to be able to understand and keep track of what they are being paid. And finance encourages any employees who have questions on how their paycheck is calculated to come to finance so that we can explain to them so they can track it going forward. A lot of these changes that I'm trying to cover with this policy include things such as going exempt on their taxes. They might come in and go exempt for one check and forget to come back and change it. So if we have a policy out there that's encouraging them to have that 90-day period to make those changes, they're more aware of their paycheck and they can keep track of it. Are there any questions?
Mayor, I have a question. I got some questions, Sabrina. Can you tell me in your own words why this was created? Why are we having this for?
So
In your
the-
own words. I don't want what's up there. In your own words. I
No,
want to
in
know
my
why.
own words, the
Yes.
reason that we would have this policy is to help employees understand how to read their paychecks, to make them more responsible for what their paychecks are actually doing. So if they have a paycheck, say their rate of pay, they've agreed to a pay increase, but between HR and finance, there's a system glitch and it doesn't go in. If they're encouraged to review their paychecks and they know how to review it, it's gonna help them with their retirement. It's gonna help them to know when they have a life change, to make sure you're watching your paycheck. Did I go in and make my change to my insurance? Did I put my taxes back and now I'm not going to owe at the end of the year? So the policy is written specifically to help the employees, not against the city, not against the employees. It's to try and encourage them to understand what their paychecks and how they're being paid.
Okay, and how many employees has this affected, or what I'm hearing? I don't know. Is there some type of discrepancy that we don't know about or understand about going on with the pay with employees, or has there been an issue in the past?
There have been issues in the past, especially with the transition from when at finance, we changed out the finance officer and we had a whole new HR department. There were some things that had fallen through the cracks, insurances and things like that. So what we want is to have a paycheck accuracy policy in place that encourages both parties to be hypervigilant. And if you're putting a policy out there that gives the city 90 days to essentially collect, you're gonna have your staff being more hypervigilant on reviewing and reconciling.
Okay, and was this decided amongst you, or was it amongst the staff?
It was amongst the staff. However, I did have a lot of questions from staff.
Okay.
So this
All
is a
right.
combination between finance and HR.
Okay, are employees provided a complete and accurate pay stub whenever they,
Yes, they are provided every payday. On Thursday morning, they have an auto delivery. If they have an electronic pay stub, it'll go into their email or into DocuDelivery. They can review it there. They can come to finance if they can't have access. We can get them access. We can print them out for them. They have a paper check. They'll have a paper paycheck.
what process has been in place to assist employees that don't understand their checks? If they have a question, if they don't understand how to read their checks, for example, and they know medical's being pulled out, they know retirement's being pulled out, but do they understand whenever they have overtime or anything like that, or?
And that is what this policy is to try and help with. Because this could happen if an employee signs off on their timesheet. They're signing that their timesheet is perfectly accurate. But they're filling it out after 2 weeks have passed by. They forget to put their overtime. Their supervisor approves their timesheet, it goes to payroll for processing. They review their timesheet and go, I didn't get paid for overtime. Well, they have 90 days to come to us and we can correct the issue. Anytime we owe the employees, we're gonna pay them.
Okay, is there any policy set, for example, if the employee has to pay back in 90 days, then is there a policy to where the city has to, if they owe the money back to the employee, is there a time?
So the employee does not have to pay back within 90 days. The 90 days is just saying that the city can only go back 90 days. So if for somehow the issue goes on for a year and neither side catches it and they come to us, we can only go back 90 days. We can't tell them we're gonna take that 100 or that whole year and now take it out of your paycheck at once.
Okay, now let's say, for example, that the city owes the employee something. Is there a policy for that?
Yes. Well, there's not a policy for that, but there's state requirements that you owe the employees what you owe the employees. You have to pay them.
Okay,
So
is there,
that's why it's not in this policy.
okay, is there any statute or any type of law that you can quote to me? Will this be illegal in any way, shape, or form, doing this?
That this would be illegal?
Yeah,
No.
no? Okay, that's all I have, Mayor.
So, Cabrini, I agree that we need to have some type of paycheck accuracy policy, but my question is, how did we get here? And you said, Councilman Anazola asked you a specific question, if this has affected any employees, and you did say no.
Mayor Council, I did say no, and then I took it back because it did affect them a couple months ago.
So
So
there
there
is-
have been, when we had that transition, there were some employees that when they were onboarded with their new hire process, our HR staff wasn't fully implemented yet, and we had a temp in place. Some of those insurances were not withheld.
So there is some employees that this did affect of approximately, what, 5, 10, 20?
There were 7.
There were
If I-
7?
If I could jump in on that real
Go
quick. That's a new wrinkle to me. I didn't realize till just now that those were onboarded employees, those were new employees?
Correct.
And to make that on their vigilance that's a whole nother thing when you
Mayor
tell me
and
they were
council,
onboarded.
with those 7 employees, we did not require them to pay back their
Right.
insurances. However, with.
But this policy,
Mm-hmm.
sorry to interrupt, this policy doesn't speak to the next time onboarded, or does it?
This policy would be in place for all employees, current and future.
Right.
And we do have a slide in the orientation process so that staff will sit down and explain to the employees, how do you read your pay stub? How do you verify it? How do you validate that it's accurate?
Right, but these same employees, if that happened with this policy in place, they would still owe 90 days worth of payback.
That's correct.
And that's troubling to me when they were onboarded incorrectly. How the vigilance is being asked of the employee, how vigilant, and I realize we were transitioning, I know there's reasons, and I accept those. But how vigilant is the city being if we've messed it up from day one?
So Councilman Hemphill, we can go back and add a line into the policy that says something along the lines that if you bring to our attention that we have done something that we weren't charging you and you're bringing it to the city and you're gonna save us money in the long run, we could have a sentence in there in the policy that states, if you bring it to our attention, we're not going to charge you.
Right, and that would be great, but this is even different than that. I would even like something in there that gave a grace period to an onboarded employee. I mean, that's something brand new to me. But those were
Councilman Hempel,
brand new onboarded employees.
They do have 30 days, so before their insurances kick in, they have 30 days, and HR explains to them what's gonna be coming out of their paycheck,
Right.
how to read the paycheck, so at that 30-day mark, they know to look at their paycheck. This should not be an issue going forward, it's just something in
Right.
place to
And-
protect the
And it probably
employee.
won't be, but to me, there's a big difference in, I've been working for 3 or 4 years and my paycheck is this, and all of a sudden my paycheck is different
Mm-hmm.
than somebody who's getting their first paycheck ever. How vigilant can you be? That's
Councilman-
my pay.
Hempel, they know when they are onboarded that this is how much you're gonna get paid, and these are your deductions coming out, so you can
Right.
take that and look at their pay stub.
Right.
John, go ahead, then Councilman McGoy.
Councilman, if you want to go ahead, you go
I
first.
was just gonna say, to me, this makes sense because I had to use it. I made a mistake myself in calculating my high deductible, my health savings. Because you start in January, just January to December, but you have to make this decision in the middle of the year. And so come the end of the year, I had overput between 2 jobs. I had put more than the law allows into health savings. And so payroll sat down with me and walked me through it and got it rectified. And I think that had nobody said anything to me, and they called me on it, they said, hey, you might wanna look at this. And how they knew, I don't know, because they don't know what I'm taking out of my other one, but they said, you need to look at this. We did it over the phone. I shouldn't say they sat down with me, but we did it over the phone, but it was pretty easy and pretty fast, and it was something that needed to happen, so I don't see what the
So Councilman-
objection to it is.
So
I
Councilman
mean,
McGoy, did you find it or did the staff find it?
I think they found it
The staff
and
found
brought
it.
it to my,
And-
they
and
brought
see-
it to my attention that there was a possibility there was a problem,
And
and there was.
And I hear you. That's why I say I agree that there needs to be something, but do we need to be pushing this through like ASAP, as fast as we can to do what? To protect ourselves? I don't know. what the whole purpose in is, but I do agree with having some kind of accuracy policy. The thing is with today's technology, how everybody, not everybody, I gotta back up. Some people choose to do direct deposits. I can tell you right now that I don't even know if mine's correct, because I don't look at that. I don't even look at anything. It just goes through and until the bank says I have no more money, then I stop spending,
But
right?
if you know
So,
that it's gonna cost you, you would check.
So
it
I just
once.
feel like the city should take a helm of this responsibility, as Councilman Hemphill has pointed out too. I mean, because a lot of times the employees don't look at that. They're-
Well, and her example was the employee forgot to put their overtime on. When they'll notice that.
Right,
You know, but-
they'll notice that stuff.
But if it's the other direction, they might just happen not to notice.
Yeah.
So,
Sabrina, you mentioned an example too, somebody, doing a non-withholding for a month. I know that happens. If they forgot to change that back, would that be something you'd come back? Would that be something that would qualify for them to repay?
No.
Okay, so that wasn't a good example
That,
for,
no, all that would be is an example of why this policy is in
Why you
place,
need to look
because
at your-
they would
okay,
be
gotcha.
encouraged to look at it, they would catch things like that.
and just to clarify, because this took me a long time. Currently, any mistake that an employee is owed more money doesn't need to be discovered in 90 days, they're 100% always going to be reimbursed.
That's correct.
When they're shorted. And this policy is saying that anytime after 90 days that a discrepancy is found where the employee is going to owe the city money, anytime after 90 days, they're gonna owe for 90 days.
That is correct.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
So I just wanted to point out that some of the errors that we're talking about were made quite a long time ago. So they've existed for a period of time. And also, the other thing is that since we have updated our HR staff, they've gone through an entire process where they have made a very extensive onboarding process, right? So as we continue to evolve that and really do something to bring employees on board, including having me go over there and meet all of them when they come through, this is just another piece that we now are adding to the policy. So again, no system is going to be perfect, and certainly the intent here is not to put the onus on the employees, but it is to have them participate so that if someone comes in, there were cases where employees came in and altered their benefits, and then the benefit was that way for a year, and then they came back and decided it wasn't accurate. Again, if I'm going to go through a process where the fiscal year changes, or I change my deferred comp, or I alter my benefits in some way, one would assume, at least I would, that I would follow up with that just to make sure that that change was effective and appropriate. So one of the things that we've done is to add a paycheck into the orientation, an image of the paycheck to go through the different parts of it. It's not that we're expecting them to calculate everything, it's we're expecting them to at least look at it. I know I've had a couple already where I got a raise at the beginning of the year. Well, I wasn't part of that raise. As soon as I saw the amount change in my bank account, I immediately went to finance, they fixed it. You know, so again, it's one of those things where I don't think the intent of the policy is to place all the onus on the employees. It's to acknowledge the fact that we're creating a document, they're receiving it, and we would like them to participate at some level so that if there is an error, that we have another layer, another opportunity to rectify it.
Go ahead, Kevin.
And I understand the policy as it exists now. And I've had it happen to me as an employee. I've had to reimburse for kind of a mistake in pace, and I'm fine with that. That should be the case. I am, however, very interested in if the employee is the one that catches a mistake that is kind of in their favor, so to speak. If they're the one that finds it out, to incentivize them to get that fixed, I don't know why we also take 90 days worth of that back. If they bring it to the attention, I'm inclined to think that that's reward enough for, otherwise, I might see a mistake and sit on it.
The only way you're gonna get me in on this right now, I'm a no, unless we do what you said, Councilman Hemphill. If that's not in there, I'm a no.
So Mayor Counts and Councilman Hemphill, the idea is to remove the 90-day window so that they're not on the hook for any of it.
If the city finds the mistake, then with 6 months later, 7 months later, then the employee should reimburse.
Mayor, can,
If I find the mistake as the employee and bring it to your attention, then to me, that's a kind of a reward for
No,
the
understood.
diligence of it.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm ultimately saving you whatever, if it happened in perpetuity, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars potentially.
Understood.
And if I bring it,
Mayor,
If-
sorry,
if the city finds the error, then yeah, I'm fine with the 90-day window of payback.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion tonight, that we table this, and that we wait till we get the new finance director. I don't know if we have somebody in mind yet or whatever, but that's my motion.
We have a motion on the floor, we need to have a second.
I don't know if there's any other discussion. I've kind of monopolized.
Mayor
this a little
Counts,
bit.
is it, well, again, obviously, there's a motion to table. Was there a possibility that we could make adjustments that would make it palatable without necessarily, because it's, from the standpoint of the document itself, it's really not in a sense, financial in terms of requiring a finance background. It's more procedural. And again, if we want to have a second, that's fine, but it's really,
The thing is so, when's our next meeting? Next Monday?
it would be the 14th of November.
So why don't we have staff go back and take the suggestions that we've had? Councilman Lopez, you wanna chime in?
You know, sounds like some things got sideways here. The employees do bear a lot of the responsibility to keep an eye on their own paycheck and to make sure things are entered correctly and that it comes back correctly. And do they all have digital, or they all get paper, or mixture of both?
Councilman Lopez, only the people with direct deposits have their electronic pay stub, but there's maybe 3 normal employees that have a paper paycheck that gets delivered, hand-delivered on Thursdays.
Okay, now, they're only given instructions on how to during orientation. Is there open season coming up right now on insurances and things like that also? Because we've got a lot of changes that came down
So open season would be next July.
next July, so it's still a ways
It would
off.
start about May,
So,
or,
it seems like we have some employees that probably don't know how to read their stuff. So, they turn it in, and doesn't it go get looked at too by their immediate supervisor before it gets there?
I don't, Councilman Lopez, are you speaking about the timesheets?
Yes.
Yes, so once the employee fills out their timesheet, it does go to their supervisor. Oftentimes, it's 2 weeks after, at the end of the 2 weeks that they're filling their timesheet out, so time has passed. If they miss anything on there, it's easy for that to slip through. But with a policy in place that incentivizes them to look at their pay stub within 90 days for errors, they're gonna catch things that benefit them as well.
Well, I'm not telling you how to do stuff, but let's make a poster and put it up on their board with an example of their pay stub and how to read it. Because we do have changes. There's some that don't know what percentage comes out of their federal for their state. They don't know how that percentage going on. So let's put it up on the board where they can look at it daily. Every now and then they talk it over within their group. We don't have to have a half day of training to do it. And that before I want to make a policy to harden it, I want to make sure everybody gets reviewed on how to read this, so this will quit happening. But the ultimate responsibility would be mine to make sure you're seeing what I thought and bring it to your attention immediately. But I want to make sure they're educated on it before I go to a policy.
Councilman Lopez, the only one that I would caution you on is the federal taxes. Just the way that the federal taxes calculate, it's a little bit more complicated, and that probably would require one-on-one time with payroll to calculate out, just because of their tables. All the other taxes would be a simple calculation.
Yeah, it's an attempt.
Yeah.
You know, it's an attempt to train them some more, because even the insurance has changed. They have birth during the year and stuff. Okay,
Councilman Lopez, that's actually a perfect example. If somebody has a life event and they have a birth of a child and they think they've come in and declared it, and they don't realize that they haven't because they just had a baby, if they're reviewing their paychecks for accuracy, they're gonna catch that, oh, I didn't actually change my insurance. I'm still being charged employee only, and now my child isn't covered.
All this is worded good, and I see what's in it. But I'd like to give them one more chance with the motion, whatever, to let them know this, what we just talking about. You are gonna be responsible for it, and we wanna make sure we take care of you both ways, finance and employees. And then, I don't know, just some kind of alert that this is coming down to them.
So,
Just one other quick comment. If somebody's overpaid, for lack of a better term, for a year, and then it's discovered, to have them pay back 3 months of that is not unreasonable at all, in my estimation. That's not an unreasonable request. I would just like to incentivize the employee to be more quick to point it out, or.
Councilman Hemphill, that would actually be very simple to just add a single line in the section of the policy under the employee reporting any discrepancy, a line at the end that says if the employee brings a discrepancy to the finance's attention that benefits the city, we will not require them to pay it back.
Because the 3 months isn't gonna be an extensive amount of money probably anyway. I can't imagine too many examples where it would be a large amount.
Any amount that's over $50, we would work with the employee to do a
Right.
payment plan that would pay it back before the end of the year,
Right.
just because of the W-2s.
So again, it's not unreasonable, they could be overpaid quite a large amount for the little 3 months that would be paid back, but I'm still trying to figure out a way that we can get it.
so, Tammy, do we have a work session scheduled the 7th of November?
At this time, we do
No?
not.
So our next meeting is the 14th of November.
What we're gonna do is we will schedule one, and it will be for the visioning,
And that is when, in November 7th?
November 7th. The 14th is the meeting, the 7th is going to be the work session on the visioning.
A work session, and we've made action items before on a work session.
No,
Yes, we have.
no,
We
you
can't.
absolutely
Work
cannot
session.
have an action item on a work session.
So when we talked about your package, that was a work session, was it not, or was that
That
always
was
an
an
E-session?
executive session.
Huh?
That was an executive session.
That whole day was an executive
Yes,
session?
sir.
Interesting.
But-
So we have a motion for the 14th of November to bring this back.
Actually, it was a table.
Yeah.
Or table it.
So it's been motioned to table, so we need a second for
Yeah,
that,
right.
and
I'm
if you
gonna go
don't
ahead
want
and
it.
I'm gonna go ahead and second it, because I don't think that everything has been resolved. I think this has been some great discussion. I think staff now can go back and help this resolution, R-2241, so I'll second the motion. I don't-
So if we
I don't-
table-
Hang on, I don't believe that Councilman, Lopez has got all his answers that he would like to have seen in there as well. So I don't see the big hurry on this.
No, there's not. There's not.
So let's table this, get the
If
staff
we-
to work this out,
I just
massage
wanna
it,
make
bring it
sure,
back.
if we table it, it doesn't have to be the next council meeting, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
you're not given a specific date for it to be brought
Right.
back, it's just being tabled so it can be brought back at any council meeting.
So that'll give us time to work it through. And in fact, maybe we should bring it back as a work session item so you can discuss it before we.
I would have liked to have seen it as a work session item instead of a.
Well,
action.
we at least brought the policy, so
Yeah.
we're getting there.
And I do believe that we need something in place.
Okay.
I do think we should have a little bit more discussion in it. I agree with Councilman McGoy, I agree with staff, I agree we need to have something. I don't think there's no reason to rush this through. I think we need to take it, we need to massage it, we need to make sure that we have everything answered, and as you said, everything's not gonna be perfect, but, I think it's time that we found an error, let's fix the error. Let's not be quick to just make something up just to have it. Let's do it right.
So for clarity, could we'll bring it back as a work session so we can
That's
discuss.
perfectly correct.
Okay.
So,
Mayor Couch, just real quick, so his motion actually did include, in his motion, that he wanted to table it until there was a new finance director, so.
yeah,
We can still bring that
I'm gonna
back
ask
for a
that
work
you
session.
correct that.
Okay, I'd like to re-amend my
Amend your
motion.
motion.
I'd like to table this bring it back to a work session?
Please.
To a work session.
Okay.
Is that good enough, Tammy, or?
Yeah, and then you second.
So, and I still accept that second. So will you go ahead and tell us what, so
What you
for the
came up
record,
with?
what Mike
So-
just said?
So for the record, now this item, Resolution R 22-041, is motion to be tabled and to be brought back at a work session for discussion.
And I second that.
And you second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Sabrina. Item 11.1, P-card report. Going once?
He's gotta have them ready.
He does have them highlighted.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay. We're not, no, that's chlorine, chlorine's not red to me. We have quite a bit of chlorine purchased, several thousand, in fact, it went to the 5,000. Is that an annual expense?
Some of
or
it
is
goes to
that-
my pool too.
Or is that seasonal? Like, I mean, one for 13, almost 14,000, and then a few others for a couple, is that seasonal, or?
Yeah, Mayor Cowles and Councilman Lopez, typically our chlorine is purchased at the beginning or the end of the season, and then we buy enough to get us through the season, and then we buy it at the end of the season with what money we have left. So it's typically 2 times a year we purchase it. We do buy some throughout the year if we need some acid or something like that. But yeah, those purchases are usually pretty large, and it's during the pool season, beginning and end of the season.
Yeah, 'cause that's quite a bit of bulk, and, it's a lot of tanks. I just wondered if it was seasonal.
Yes, it is.
That's all I had, Mayor.
All right, how about 5,000 expense over? How about 5,000 in revenues? Announcement of current events.
Just had a lot of good current events out on the lawn. Lots of people came out. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to more. And there was a lot of our employees that were active in all these events. They were all over. That was really good to see.
Well, Mayor, I'd like to mention too that the Harvest Fest was great. I opened it up and a lot of good community involvement, and I want to say kudos to the city and everybody putting this together, so thank you.
Did you carve a pumpkin?
No, but I wore a pumpkin shirt. So
You did? Okay. Requests for future agenda items?
Mayor Cowles.
Go ahead.
I sent out an email to council, given the way that the current schedule's unfolding with the compensation plan, so that I requested that we move some things around. So we'll be scheduling a work session for the 7th on visioning. And then we'll have the meeting on the 14th, which will contain the compensation plan on it. And then instead of doing the visioning on the 28th, I would request that in light of the holiday that we just cancel the 28th altogether.
Sounds good. Anything else?
Okay. Was that guidance?
Yes.
Item 14, report on operational items. Sam?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I just have a couple items I wanted to give you an update on. One of them was our capital improvement project that was approved this year. That was to replace our main data server that had reached the end of their useful life. These servers run our financial software, our billing, our utility billing, Active Directory, GIS, Laserfish, Remote App Server, and all other programs the city utilizes. Last month, we received the new servers. We were able to get them set up and installed, and then Kate began the data migration from the old servers to the new ones, and he was successful in completing that migration without any data loss or disruption to this city of Safford for services. Some of the key benefits of these new servers are they're 4 times more powerful than our old ones. So we went from a server stack of 4 to 3, and then We're also able to leverage some of the automated components of the new servers, so, which is like load balancing and disaster recovery that came with the new servers. Our new storage that came with these servers is faster, which should result in better performance and quicker response time to our end users when running applications. And then, depending on growth and application load, we anticipate the data center package to last us between 8 to 10 years. Is there any questions on that part?
Go ahead.
You said it's 4 times as fast?
Yeah,
Does it cost 4 times as much?
just about.
Hey, one thing I've been concerned about, and I've had to call you on it, is security. The mayor's asked me for money twice within the last month.
Oh,
and a
yeah,
half.
me too.
So,
But none of you guys sent it either, dadgummit.
But he can't answer the phone though, you can only email him back, he can't accept calls.
so one said something about jail, I don't know if he needs to go to jail, but has that going rampant on us? Is it other, I can only know that I've been contacted. for it.
Right. No, those are phishing scams, and we try to do the best we can to keep them out, but they do come in. And one of the key benefits to what our program Know Before is that you guys have been able to find them and identify them and say, hey, this doesn't look right. So that's one of the things that we strive to do, is make sure that we have all of our employees that are educated and be able to recognize those types of phishing scams. And so
They look,
so it's working, evidently, I
well,
hope.
looks pretty real, but,
Right, right.
If you'd start sending me money, I'd quit.
yeah. But I just, you are on top of it.
Yes, sir.
That's what I was hoping to hear.
Anything else on that part?
That's all right.
Okay. The next item I wanted to point out was, about a year ago, Councilman McGoy had made a suggestion that we make our cemetery records searchable online through an interactive map. And this project was completed in April and provided plot information or location and information to patrons of the cemetery after regular business hours and on weekends. Kate Bryce and Van Taylor developed a cemetery database that can be accessed either through our website or through the use of a smartphone at the cemetery via a QR code, signs that are that are posted at each entry location at the cemetery. And I just wanted to share with you a post that was on Facebook of a patron that went out there, and this is what they said. They said, "Whoever made the directory at the Safford Cemetery is amazing. I have been wanting to find my old neighbor / good friend for a while. I couldn't remember where she was, and we found her today. I can't wait to bring her flowers. Today, or totally made my day." So I just wanted to point out that we do have people using it, and it's nice to be able to see that there are people using it and it's being utilized. And kudos to Kate and Van. And Mo also created the QR code that you can scan with your phone. And thank Councilman McGoy for giving us that idea to do. So,
I was out there on a weekend and somebody asked me, you know, I think it was, I'm saying Milt Ray, and that's not correct. It was the owner of Minute Markets at the time, and he was trying to find somebody. I said, well, you'll have to call over at this office during business hours. And I thought that's kind of, didn't help him. He was here from out of town, so
yeah, so thank you.
thank you.
That it?
That's
Any
all I have.
questions? Sam, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We'll go ahead and close our regular meeting and open into executive session, so we're gonna run here in the back, hear what we got going on. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close executive session and reconvene into a regular meeting to talk about Resolution R 22-33 PRS drop.
Mayor, I make the motion that we approve resolution R 22-033, PSPRS drop.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion does pass. We're gonna go ahead and close our regular meeting and open an executive session. session, open back into regular meeting. Go ahead and read resolution 2233, please.
So resolution number R 22-033, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, establishing a PSPRS drop policy that includes an extension from 60 months participation to 84 months participation.
All right, sounds good. Vice Mayor,
I move we adjourn.
Second?
all those in favor?
Aye.